Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of IBNW News. And tonight, just like you saw in the title, Brady Boyd, who is a former Gateway Church pastor and then went on to go pastor a church over called New Life, who was recently, they let him resign, which is another way for saying fired or outed out of that pastorate, is now just 1 month later starting another ministry. And as you saw in the thumbnail, the question I'm asking tonight is, can this guy take a hint? When somebody has basically told you and caught you in a lie, because that's allegedly what was going on and happening, the elders, as we reviewed in the video the last time we talked about this, the elders had caught Brady Boyd in a lie. They had sufficient evidence in their case that he was lying, or at least not being truthful, deceitful with how much information he knew about Robert Morris and the scandal that happened with the then very, very, very young Cindy Clemishire. So with all that being said, should this man continue to pursue ministry, especially after 1 month of being outed? Whatever happened to taking a little bit of time, maybe for some repentance, some time for self-reflection about what you have done? Regardless, I do want to make it clear, while Brady Boyd had absolutely nothing to do with the actual act that Robert Morris committed, the fact of the matter is, allegedly, he knew about it. And once again, those elders saw fit to go ahead and remove him from that pastorate for not being fully truthful. With that being said, I want to go ahead before we jump over to the article and take us to the Bible, because I want to lay everything down on the foundation of Scripture. And we're going to go ahead and look at Proverbs chapter 28, verse 13. Very wise, he who conceals his transgression will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will find compassion. This is a two-ended verse right here. One, if you are somebody who is concealing the wrongdoing that you have done, you are not admitting it, even when caught, you're not going to prosper. But if you're somebody, when you mess up and you trip up, because we all do, we're not perfect, but when you mess up and you confess what you did wrong, you confess your sin, and most importantly here, you forsake them, meaning you're not going to go that way again, at least have the attitude of that, you will find compassion. Let's go ahead and jump over to this article. This article does come from the Christian Post, and it's written by Leonardo Blair. And it says here in the title, Brady Boyd and wife launched new ministry after New Life asked him to resign, or in other words, was basically fired without being fired. Just once again, remind you here, this is only 1 month after he was forced to resign. As I said before, when you have multiple people pointing at you saying, hey, you need to step down, I don't think a 1 month break is really going to cut it. Just for those who are watching live, I want to go ahead and take some live comments before we get into this. Pam jumps in and said, whoa, what part of not eligible to be a pastor doesn't he get? And exactly, I'm right there with you. Kathy jumped in and said he took the fast track premium package with early access for Restart. Kathy, that is hilarious. We're going to jump over to his new ministry, examine it, look at it from an unbiased eye to see what they're talking about, and after we read this article. So we're going to go ahead and jump in over that. As we see more people jumping on, Susie Q, welcome, outstanding to see you back on here. Let's go ahead and jump over here. So once again, it says here, soon after elders at New Life Church in Colorado Springs, Colorado, urged their then senior pastor, Brady Boyd, to resign in June, he and his wife, Pam, launched a new ministry in their home based on Psalm 68. The ministry, known as Psalm 68 Ministries, was started in the couple's home and is dedicated to serving some of society's most vulnerable people. Now, let's go ahead and look at the actual website itself before we continue reading on to this article. It says here, Psalm 68 Ministries, Brady and Pam Boyd. This is what the website kind of looks like. It says, a father to the fatherless, a defender of widows. This is God. Now, I perused this website before we went ahead and jumped on this because obviously I want to check things out when I do get the chance to go ahead and do it. Although I do work a job that keeps me working, 12 to 14 hours a day, depending on the day. You got to make sure that we get a good look at this stuff. Otherwise, if I'm going in blind, I'm always going to let you know that. It says here, our story, Psalm 68 Ministries, started in our home in July of 2025 after pastoring faithfully. Notice these words he uses here, pastoring faithfully at New Life Church. When obviously the elders at New Life Church, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in this for you. The elders at New Life Church did not see fit that he was pastoring faithfully. But he wants to go ahead and assert that. Who's right and who's wrong, that's for God to decide. But when you have multiple elders, just like the Bible says, when 2 or 3 come in my name, there I am in their midst. That's talking about when elders come together, specifically in the context of church discipline. But when the elders of the church are coming together and they make a decision, as long as it's God honoring and in the right light and falls in line with the biblical principles, God is going to honor that decision. We had these elders of this church go ahead and affirm, hey, you're not fit for ministry here at this church. We basically have evidence that you were being deceitful. So it goes on to say, after pastoring faithfully at New Life Church, and I like what Susie said, can he define, quote, pastoring faithfully? Yeah, that's basically what I said. Kathy's spot on. Kathy, you are on fire tonight. He has his own dictionary. And that's what it seems like. But, it's all, let's go ahead and keep reading it. The ministry is named after a psalm that has been a life verse for us for the past 36 years of marriage and ministry. It goes on to say, a father to the fatherless, defender of widows, is God in his holy dwelling. God sets the lonely in families. He leads out the prisoners with singing. So that's their life verse. And then immediately following this small step, it talks about why give. Now, this is where my personal alarm bells start ringing. So they're starting this out of their house, which many people do. That's how a lot of ministries start, things of that nature. Bible studies in a garage somehow turns into a church, things of that nature. That's not entirely wrong. But yet he's starting this ministry straight out of his house. I do wonder if this is actually if he put in the paperwork to be a 501c3 already, or if it is not. Relatively, like I said, this is a month afterwards. So I don't know if this was in the works prior to, and he decided to just keep going with it, or he started it immediately after. But that might be something to go ahead and think about. And, while we're doing that, let's just do a quick Google search to see if that is. This is why I love doing it live. Sorry about that. I can't chew gum and walk at the same time. No, it's too new, so I cannot find the actual Psalm 68 Ministries. I'll show you what I'm looking at if you're curious. I just literally typed in Google, is Psalm 68 Ministries a 501c3? But they have, I guess, multiple ones. This one's from St. John's, Florida. I don't believe that's it. It says it started. Here we go. There's also mention of Psalm 68 Ministry founded by Brady Boyd, but it's not listed with the IRS as a tax-exempt organization. It's receiving donations through Trinity Fellowship, making those gifts tax deductible. Okay, so this is what Google popped up with. So they are receiving their donations through Trinity Fellowship. I personally don't even know what Trinity Fellowship is. Let's just go ahead and look that up. Why not? Trinity Fellowship. Yeah, this is probably going to bring up a lot of. I don't know if this is talking about the church. This maybe was a bad way to go ahead and ask about it, because I'm sure Trinity Fellowship is a very large. A lot of ministries probably have Trinity Fellowship in here. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to their website since we're done perusing the internet. There, we'll try to dig in more about it and report on it later. But it goes on to say that basically, why give? It says, when you give to Psalm 68 Ministries, you're empowering Pam and I to continue to work the work we started decades ago with your support, we'll continue to do. So once again, too fast to be a 501c3, not registered with the IRS. They're receiving their tax exempt status by virtue of another ministry. Basically, you're giving to that other ministry, and then that ministry is allotting the money over to them. That's how they're receiving. Basically, I guess people are getting their tax exempt donations in. So it goes on to say, bring resources, coaching, and strength to ministries by serving kids in the Pikes Peak region, in Guatemala, Nicaragua, and the Dominican Republic, and many other places. Very ambitious. I mean, that's very nice. Drill wells for clean drinking water, support schools and medical clinics throughout Central and South America, train and encourage and coach pastors, especially those who have been wounded by the rigors of ministry. This is a very large swath of things. Live and serve here in Colorado Springs. We have the last 18 years. So it says give to Hollywood Road campus and designate the gift. And it looks like that is the way to go ahead and give. And I probably should have just clicked on this because this is Trinity Fellowship right here. Oh boy. It just goes to show you I'm not the smartest person in the world. And hopefully that makes me a little bit more relatable. I don't know. It goes on to say a lifestyle of radical obedience and generosity. That's what this is. And like I said, it gives you a specific way to go ahead and give on that Psalm 68 website. It said give to Hollywood Road campus and designate it to Psalm 68 ministries. So I guess that's how you would do that from that angle. It got some random pictures up here, probably from other various mission trips that they have done. It talks about what they are doing, which was mentioned above beforehand. Now, here's the big question that I would have. How is he setting all this up? How is he doing what he's saying? How do we know he is doing what he's saying he's doing? Once again, this was something that was started 1 month after he was released from his church. That begs a lot of questions. Additionally, on that, what kind of proof do you have that if we were to give money for these causes, and don't get me wrong, these are great causes. These are really good causes. This is something I think a lot of ministries could do to assist in spreading the gospel. I think it's great things. But how do we know the money's actually going there? That's what I'm curious about. It seems like this Trinity Foundation is going to basically, or Trinity Fellowship, sorry, is basically kind of vouching for them by giving them money or allowing them to receive money through their 501c3 and their website. So there's just not that much about it. You think there would be more, like a little about us page, clicking on various things here. I just don't see it. Yeah, that's very basic. This website does not have a lot on it. It's not telling you how this is going to go there or anything like that, how they are doing this. It gives a little summary and a write-up here, but it just says we're partnering with Nourish International, or we will immediately support building a new high school. This is very ambiguous. We will immediately support building a new high school. How much support? We are partnering. It looks like here they want to be pastor coaches as well. I don't think somebody who was fired because they did not disclose the entire truth, allegedly, should be mentoring pastors. It just doesn't sound right to me. We're working with local pastors to build a new church. So it seems like this just doesn't seem as if this is really well thought out. And my big question, once again, how much money is going into Brady and Pam, who no longer have a job's pocket, and how much is actually going to what they are claiming it is going to? I guess that's the big question. Whether or not I don't have the data to back any of that up. And I think it's reasonable to ask, hey, how are you doing what you're saying you're going to do? That's just at least my opinion. Let me jump over to some of y'all's comments and see what y'all have to say on this. Kathy, very, very kind of you. Very relatable. Thank you very much. Annette said, a tithing challenge. Yeah, Gateway is known for their tithing challenges, that's for sure, and especially not following through with what they said, and because there was a lot of people that weren't satisfied and did not get their money back. Looking through what you're saying. I love the live chat on our live chat. Faith and Photo says there are many doing the quote unquote coaching thing. Yeah, that is very crazy. And Pam agrees. She thinks it sounds like a money grab. Faith and Photos, you hit it up. I'm actually doing research right now into this coaching thing that goes around and gives speeches because it keeps popping up all over my Facebook. They have like a picture of Tim Tebow on there and some dudes from the Duck Dynasty and whatnot. And from everything I'm gathering, it's pretty much a multi-level marketing scheme, which we all know what that is. And basically give us a bunch of money so that way you can make more money in return. I'm been digging into that. We're going to make an episode on that. I just want to make sure I thoroughly research it before we do. But that's what, this whole coaching and all that stuff. It's yeah. Anyways, Kathy says, is he going to offer classes on how to cover up secrets permanently? Oh my goodness gracious. Kathy, you're on a roll. Faye says, I have some friends doing the coaching thing. It is cringe to me. Oh boy. Yeah, I just couldn't imagine. And especially, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are pastors out there who it's a very lonely job being a pastor. I can only imagine you're in charge of all these people. God is giving you charge to go ahead and shepherd them. And it can feel lonely sometimes. All the more reason why I believe a church should be ran by obviously Jesus Christ is the head. People mix my words up, but I'm talking about the place we gather should be led by a plurality of elders, an elder-led church, just like the Bible talks about, not a senior pastor-led church. Maybe the burnout would not be so bad then. The other thing about burnout, I've only done pastoring for about a year intermittently to help out a church that was looking for their pastor, so I cannot speak on all things pastors, these guys who've done this for 10 years. While I'm very sure it can be tiresome, wear you out, burnout could set in, I also believe that God has empowered people to do this supernaturally, and it's not just available for everybody. There's a lot of people that are pastors today that should not be pastors. Let's be real on that. All right. With all that being said, I just thought this was one, dude, take a hint. Like I said, if your church was telling you that you need to step out of ministry, why are you jumping straight back into ministry? And number two, man, you were caught covering up for one of the worst predators inside the church, not only theology wise, but what he did to a little girl. If you knew about that and you still chose to work under him, that makes me want to question your character. At the end of the day, God is the judge when it comes to salvation, when it comes to the change of the heart. I am not, and I will never stand here and make a claim. But going back to our main passage that we talked about, Proverbs chapter 28, verse 13, he who conceals his transgressions will not prosper. But he, and here's the good news of this, he who confesses and forsakes them will find compassion. I believe that is a great way to go ahead and end this. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We are coming back with the podcast, by the way. Don't think we're our longer form video format before we do leave. I don't want people to think that we have abandoned that. It has just been crazy between me going to see family and then work. And then I got this surgery coming up. If you could keep me in prayer, by the way, I would appreciate it. Please keep me in prayer as I'm about to go under the knife and fix this torn labrum I've had for the last, I don't even know how long, that I've been stubbornly ignoring. And now it's to the point where I can no longer ignore it. My fellow veterans out there probably can empathize with just hiding injuries so that way you can get promoted. I'm not hiding anymore. So we're getting this done. So you'll see me here on these live streams, like, if I can zoom out real quick, wearing a cast the entire time, doing everything with one hand. That should be interesting. But praying the army doctors don't leave anything in there. Good news is I got it referred off post. So I'll be going to Oklahoma City to go ahead and get that done. No army doctors are touching me. No offense, army doctors. All right. With all that being said, love y'all. And I will talk to y'all on the next one. See you later.